Hello again, everybody. I'm Jeremiah Reiner, and thank you for listening in to a brand new episode of Deeply Rooted.
Deeply rooted in God's Word. Deeply rooted in God's Word.
Hey, everybody, and welcome again to Deeply Rooted. Thank you for joining us wherever you're at and however you may be listening. We appreciate you tuning in. Don't forget, you can find us on our Facebook page there at Deeply Rooted. We put up all of our new content each day, some inspirational things if you'd like to get on there and check those out for encouragement. We'll also have our stuff on our YouTube channel and our Apple Podcasts. So if you haven't subscribed to those, make sure you do that as well. You can find all of our archived podcast episodes on there. And you can reach out to us on our new website. It's jeremiahreiner.com. There you can find all of our new blog posts. We try to put those up weekly, as well as our previous podcast episodes. You can access those through there as well. So shoot us an email. You'll find the email on the website there, and you can also message us through our Facebook Messenger. So if you got a prayer request, something you'd like to talk to us about, or maybe even an episode that you have in mind that you'd like to hear from us on, we'd love to hear from you for that. But today it's episode 39, and we've got a good friend of mine here. This is our third installment of Pastor Profiles. So we're recording from Weston Baptist Church with my good buddy, Pastor Josh Tompkins. Josh is the pastor here, like I said. He's married to his lovely wife, Stephanie. They've got 4 lovely children, faithfully serving the Lord here in this church for many, many years. So Josh, thank you so much for opening up your church and being with us on the podcast.
Thank you for having me. And let me say this to start out. I appreciate what you do here. I appreciate your podcast. Appreciate your ministry. And thank you for having me on here.
We love it. Let's go back in the beginning here. You're an old Pound Wildcat, so for anybody in the Wise County area, they're familiar with that. But what was life like growing up in the Tompkins household in Pound?
I had a very blessed childhood. It was a traditional upbringing. I had a great dad. He was a coal miner. I like to say he instilled within me a work ethic that I try my best to follow every single day now. I try to pass that on to my boys, that they would have a great work ethic. Just seeing my dad work so hard growing up. My mom was a stay-at-home mom who took care of my sisters and I. I couldn't have had a more loving family growing up. I just privileged and blessed. And you mentioned Pound. I couldn't have grown up in a better place than Pound. Loved Pound High School, loved playing sports there. I was truly surrounded by family and friends and support. And I thank God for that childhood. Not many people have that privilege that I had.
Right. Now, what was your spiritual life like as a young boy?
I think I had a typical religious upbringing. Maybe not typical for today, but typical in for us growing up at our age. I was surrounded by the Bible. I was taught the Bible in Sunday school. I knew right from wrong. I was in church probably 3 times a week, faithfully. I even went to Christian school until I was in 6th grade. So I was in a very strict Christian school. We wore uniforms. We memorized scripture. So I knew all the Bible. I heard good sermons from great preachers. And I'm thankful for that. That was a good religious upbringing. But I had all that knowledge, that understanding, that religious background. But I wasn't saved in any of that. I'm thankful Mom and Dad gave me that. I'm thankful they took me to church. But I wasn't saved until I got older, got out of college, and God truly changed my heart there. But to answer your question, I had a very religious upbringing, just not a very spiritual upbringing.
Right. So definitely a church kid through and through. Yeah. Ministry-wise, where did you begin to really get interested in that? You mentioned you were saved out of college, so walk us through that transition in your life.
Well, even the thought of ministry didn't come into my mind until after I was saved, obviously, and even then it was something I fought for a long time. My plans were, and they say, what are our plans compared to God's plans? My plans was to be a teacher. My plans were to be a coach. I'm an athletic sports kind of guy. I wanted to be in a local high school, coaching a local team, being around that atmosphere. I loved that. Still do. I love that atmosphere. And I was pursuing that. But ministry, after I got saved, became something I couldn't escape. I remember praying because it's just something that just kept staying on my mind constantly, in my heart. And I didn't want to do it. I had no desire to do it. And I told God, and I remember praying. I remember where I was at. I said, God, if you want me to do this, you'll have to make me want to do it. Because I didn't want to do it. And over time, praying that, God started to develop in me that desire not to want to do it, but to have to do it. And all other pursuits at that point and all other desires began to fade away. The coaching, the teaching just slowly faded away. And ministry and preaching became an all-consuming desire and pursuit of my life where I couldn't do anything else but that.
How old were you when that was going on?
I was saved at 23, and it started almost immediately after that. I would say 6, 7, 8 months after that, and I probably battled it for over a year,
right.
Just refusing to do it, refusing, I guess, to surrender.
Mm-hmm.
I fought it, and finally, like I said, over time, God changed my heart about it and changed my mind to where I said, okay, I want to do this.
Yeah.
So He answered that prayer, and I'm thankful for it.
Now, did you seek out a pastor, or did you just announce that publicly in church, or how did you go about explaining to people where you were at?
I think several people in our church, after I got saved, I became more active in church. It wasn't just attending church, I was active in church. Like I said, growing up, I attended, I wouldn't say active. So I became more active. I remember going to my pastor and saying, whatever you want me to do, I'll do. He put me in the nursery, he put me weed eating, whatever, I need to serve, I need to be active, I need to do something. So my pastor, I became his right-hand man. Whatever he wanted, wherever he went, I went with him. So people started seeing that in me. But there was no eye-opening moments. There was no walking of the aisle. There was no getting up and announcing it. It was almost just a slow move into that ministry. I went from weed eating and nursery to the pulpit over time. So it was more of a slow, stubborn, prayerful decision is what it was.
Now, did your family and friends receive that pretty well?
Yeah, they actually did. I grew up with 2 uncles that were pastors. I had an uncle that was a pastor in Salt Lake City, Utah, and I had an uncle that was a pastor in Albuquerque, New Mexico. So my family knew pastoring, they knew preaching, they knew what a call to ministry was like. I think my mom would even say that she had prayed that I would be called to ministry as a child, as a little baby. So my family accepted it. I think they were afraid that I'd have to move away. I grew up, I said, with a great family. We were close. We spent holidays together, just a real close family. And their fear was, oh no, Josh is leaving. They didn't want me to move away. That was the only drawback from that, or the pull from that. Don't leave us, stay here. And my friends were great. I didn't think they would be, because my friends were unbelievers, most of them. And I thought, well, I'll tell them this, they're going to make fun of me, just as a young man, what they would say. But the first sermon I preached, I had, I think, 8 friends show up.
Wow.
Unbelievers, didn't show up because they loved Jesus, they showed up because they loved me. And they sit, and I can even picture them in my mind, sitting where they sit in that church and supporting me, almost in my own little cheering section there, of encouragement and acceptance for what I've surrendered to do.
You remember your first message?
Unfortunately, I do. I do. I still have the notes to this day. I go back and read them sometimes because sometimes as preachers we can get cold, and I want to go back to when my heart was very, very warm. The sermon wasn't great. I preached, I think, Mark 8:34 on picking up your cross and following Christ. And I did that because I was working through some things at that time. I'd spent 23 years thinking I was saved and following Christ. And that passage stood out to me of what does it really mean to follow Christ? What is that like? So that passage stood out to me. And that was the first passage I preached. And it was awkward. And it was short. And it was awkward some more. But I had a pastor and I had a church family that was incredibly supportive of me through the bad sermons. That was bad. The next one was bad. The next one was bad. I mean, we still preach bad ones today, but
yeah.
My pastor never said, hey, that was bad. Hey, you need to quit. My family would say, hey, great sermon, even if it was bad. Just patting on the back, saying, do it some more. My pastor just kept giving me opportunities. And I am so thankful for that church. I mean, I can't imagine that church sitting and listening to a 23-year-old newly saved guy get up and preach. And they sit there with smiles on their faces, and they encouraged me. My pastor did, my family did. And if they hadn't have done that, I wouldn't be where I am today. So I love that about churches that'll sit and listen to young pastors preach. And I want that to be our church too. So yeah, that was the experience of the first sermon.
All right, let's go from bad to good. Your wife, Stephanie, how long were y'all together? Where'd you meet at? How did that all come about?
I met her in 6th grade. I went to a Christian school up until 6th grade. And I walk into 6th grade math class, and we have assigned seats, and my assigned seat was right behind Stephanie. And we became friends then. On that first day of public school, she became my friend. And a few years later, she became my girlfriend.
Did you ask her to check yes or no?
I didn't. I love that song by George Strait, but I didn't. It took a while. 6th grade, we became friends. I guess we started dating in 11th grade, so it took her a while to see how great I was, I guess. But she became my girlfriend, and now she's my best friend. We went through high school together, went through UVA-Wise together. She kept me in line a lot of the time during that. She was saved. I said I was saved, but didn't act like I was. And got married 6 years after we started dating, and been together a long time now. So she's one of the great blessings of my life.
How's that changed you as a believer?
So many ways. Marriage was a struggle for me at first, and somewhat still is, because I'm a very, very, very selfish person. I think about myself a lot. I'm the first thing on my mind when I get up in the morning. I'm the last thing on my mind when I go to bed at night. I think we're all like that, very, very selfish.
Sure.
I'm probably on my mind more than anything else. And when I married Steph, the vows I said that day in front of a crowd, in front of the preacher, in front of God, was I now put her first before all things. And I couldn't escape that. The day I said that, the next day, and even today, I can't escape those words, that I vow to put her first in everything. So marriage meant to me sacrificing myself, and that's hard. And that's the thing that I've learned the most, is she comes first, and I have to sacrifice me. And that's been a hard lesson. Selfishness is a tough habit to break, and I'm still breaking that. But as I've matured, as I've grown up a little, it's become so much easier for me to sacrifice for her, because I see her sacrificing for me. I think that's what love is, sacrificing for each other. Me trying to love her as Christ loved the church and sacrifice himself for us, and her sacrificing herself for me the way the church sacrifices for Christ. And that's a mutual love, and it's a beautiful picture of what marriage ought to be. And we try to do that. We do our best. We fail a lot. Still battling that old self. But that is the lesson that I've learned the most from marriage, and the lesson that I'm still learning is to sacrifice myself and put her first.
I think God's helping you guys, because He has more than blessed you with plenty of opportunity to get rid of self. You got 4 kids. Great. I love them because they got red hair, and I think that's tremendous. But what about raising kids has brought you more to the Lord as well?
I love having kids, obviously. We have a house full of redheaded kids. I love everything about being a parent. We would have more if she would let me. And it's changed me in many ways. It's grown me in many ways. I remember the first day that I held Gracie, my oldest, in my arms. And I think everything changed at that moment, because I began at that moment to cherish every moment and everything in life. Because as they go from, and I think most people understand this, you don't know how fast time flies till you have a kid. And they go from me holding her in the hospital to her being 14 years old in a snap of a finger. And I want to hold on to every second of every day that I have with those kids. And that's just, it's made me do that. I think the Bible teaches us that. So we need to cherish every moment, every day, and treat it like it's going to be our last.
Sure.
And that's what kids have taught me, because I just want to hold on to them longer. I wish time would slow down. I kind of wish I was with them right now. I want to hold them. I want to cheer for them in their sports. I go to games now with my boys and I take pictures, and I just want to cherish that moment for a little bit longer, because I know that they just don't last. It's here today and gone tomorrow. I mean, it's just so fast. So having kids has really helped me to be in the moment, to value even the little things, and to cherish it. Enjoy the now is what having kids has taught me, and to try to hold on to that. It's just time is so valuable.
Absolutely.
I saw that with the Kobe Bryant thing a few weeks ago. I wanted to grab my kids and hold on to them. When you see what happened to him and his daughter and his wife and daughters that were left behind, and it goes so fast. And that's what kids just hold on to them. Every moment, every second, cherish it. So that's what one of the many lessons that it's taught me.
You're an avid learner, and I've told you this before, but I really appreciate that about your ministry and how you approach things. Talk to us a little bit about how you got started in the academic world of ministry.
Well, the desire to learn academics is not something that comes naturally to me. Before I was saved, the only thing I wanted to learn was about sports. The only thing I read was sporting magazines, Sports Illustrated, ESPN, those types of things. I had no desire to open a Bible, to open a book. And then I got saved, and all of a sudden, out of nowhere, I don't even know where, I know where it came from. Then I didn't. What's this? Why do I want to read? I didn't understand it, but I had this desire to read the Bible, to learn the Bible, to know what the Bible said. I remember there was nights when I first got saved where I just couldn't get away from the Bible. I just sit and read it and read it and read whole books at once. And I'd go to my dad and say, "Did you know this was in here?" And he's like, "Yeah, it's always been there." I'm like, "I've never seen this before." And it was all new to me and fresh, and I couldn't put it down. I read every book that my pastor gave me. I bugged him to death because give me another one, give me another one. I was just reading everything I get my hands on. I was like, "Dad, give me more books." My uncles, give me books, give me something to read. I've got to learn more. And that's just more and more and more. And that desire increased, if it could, when I began to preach. Because I figured if I'm going to do this, if I'm going to teach people, like that first sermon, I got up there and read the Bible, and I'm sitting like, why does these people want to listen to me? I don't know anything. I could tell them about basketball. What am I going to tell them about the Bible? I'm not trained in this. I'm not taught in this. Why would they want to listen to me? So I said, if I want to do this, I'm not going to wing it. I just can't. So I need to be trained. I need to be well taught. We do that with other professions. You don't go to the doctor and the guy says, self-taught.
Right.
You'd walk out and turn around and go the other way.
Yeah.
So I thought, I need to learn. So that's when I started looking for seminaries, because I had to go learn. I wanted to know the Bible, so I went to seminary and took every Bible class I could get.
Where did you end up at?
I ended at, first, my master's degree at Liberty Theological Seminary. And I said, give me Bible classes, whatever Bible class you have. And then I said, give me languages. Teach me Greek. I need to learn. I said, give me preaching labs. We talked about that. I need to learn to preach. Teach me church administration. Whatever you can give me. If I'm going to do this, I got to know what I'm doing. I don't want to go in ignorantly. And so that it just kept going. And I took anything and everything I could get a hold of, because I wanted to be the best I could be at what God called me to do. And just taking in everything I could get my hands on. And it's something that I guess has never stopped. I'm still learning to this day. So that's where I began.
Yeah, I don't think people understand this next part we're talking about here, how impressive this is. I know most people listening may or may not be aware, but you're currently involved in a doctorate program at the Master's Seminary. Explain to our audience a little bit about what that is and what you're pursuing right now, kind of what your main focus is.
Right now I'm at the end of 3 years at the Master's Seminary, getting a doctorate in ministry. And I've had a lot of people ask me why. I got a question about that yesterday. Why are you doing that? I hear people say, you've got a great church, and I do. You've got a great family, and I do. I've got everything a pastor could ever want. It is. There's nothing more I could want. I have no intention of ever leaving. Why would you get a doctorate? And I tell them I'm doing it because I'm a learner. I want to be a lifelong learner. I don't want to ever stop learning and growing. I want to take my biblical knowledge and my spiritual maturity and even my preaching to the next level. And that's what got me into this program. I was at a pastor's conference. A pastor comes up to me and says, here's this program. It's all on expository preaching. And you can be under some of the greatest preachers in the world, a who's who of preachers, John MacArthur, Steve Lawson, Sinclair Ferguson, Joel Beakey. I just go down the list of these guys who you're sitting under. And I'm sitting there thinking, I can learn from the best in the world? Why would I not do this?
Right.
And he said, it's the premier program on preaching in the world. And I said, sign me up. I'm there. And he said, our goal in this program is that year 1 to year 3, that you take your preaching and your ministry to new heights. And I said, that's what I want. So I went and been there again for 3 years, and it has pushed me to levels. I'm not saying it's that I'm anything or anywhere, but it's pushed me places that I didn't think I could go. It's taken biblical knowledge. Just the books that we've been able to read, the men that we're under, the years of experience that you get to learn from. It's just invaluable. And it's just been an outstanding experience. And I'm blessed to be a part of it. I pray that I finish it in the next couple of months. I just can't say enough great things about this program that I've been in. And I would do it again. Probably not the paper writing, but I would do it again.
Right. Now, with all that, certainly busy. So how do you balance being a husband, being a dad, pastoring, and student all at the same time?
Well, I don't do it very well. I'm just being honest with you. It's hard. It's very hard. I had a goal. I had a plan. This is how I was going to do things. And, everybody has a plan until they get punched in the mouth. I think that's that great theologian Mike Tyson said that. So I had a plan how I was going to do it, how I was going to balance everything. I told my wife, I said, it'll work out. I'll plan things right. I told the church, it'll be like, you won't even know I'm doing it. But then you get into it and it becomes chaos. I had planned a certain way, and now it's ended up how I work it out now. It's probably not the best way, but I give the church my days. I give my family my evenings. And after they go to bed, I do my schoolwork. And that can sometimes start at midnight and sometimes go all night long. It's probably not the best way to do things, but it's the way that I don't leave my family out or leave my church out. I'll gladly lose some sleep, so that my family doesn't miss out or my church miss out. So that's what I've done. There's been times that it didn't go that way. There's been times that I've been typing papers in the bleachers of my kids' basketball games. But I've got a very, I'll say, incredibly understanding family and church that has encouraged me and prayed for me every step of the way through this all. And my kids and my wife and the people in my church want me to do this. So it helps me that they keep encouraging me, that they're cheering me on. I had a lady in my church give me a calendar, and she's praying for me every day of the month. And my daughter gave me a note the other day, said, Dad, I'm praying for you on this final little bit. And so that's rare to find, a family that says, okay, we're going to push you, a church that says, we're going to push you. So it's been a great 3 years, and I can't say enough about the church and my family and how they've helped me through this.
Yeah. Well, speaking of the church, obviously we're here at West End Baptist Church. How'd you find yourself here? Like, how did that all come about when you were ministering and then became pastor?
I wasn't looking for a church. I was in my last year at Liberty Seminary, and I was pastoring a small church near Appomattox, real small. Church was about 150 years old, was there in the Civil War. And I had a desire to come back this way because I've always said from the beginning that I wanted to minister in this area to my people. I feel like these are my people. So I had that desire, and one day I was sitting in class, and it was a class on the book of Hebrews, and I got a message from one of my friends from high school that was the choir leader here at the church, and they had just lost their pastor. They were in a bad place here, and they needed somebody, and she sold me on it. I mean, hook, line, and sinker, like a salesman. Just I told my wife. She said, "Yeah, let's go home." So they called me in to preach, and the rest is history. And it turned out to be a perfect fit. It's amazing how God works that out. Put me here with this church and these people, and it's not been everything great. You have your ups and your downs, but I think it's been a perfect fit here.
What's your biggest takeaway, I guess, lesson learned from your years of pastoring so far?
We talked about this earlier, and this is new for me. It's a new lesson. I've been pastoring now here for almost 10 years, overall for 13 years, and this is a newer lesson that I'm learning. I thought that the number one priority, the number one thing that I needed to be was a preacher. I still love preaching, but I've realized that the people in the pews don't really care what you know and what you say. And this is an old saying, I never got it, until they know that you care about them. And that's been a lesson that I've learned over the years here, is that people want to be loved. They want you to be there for them. They want to know that you care for them. They want to know that you're going to be there through thick and thin. They'll listen to my bad sermons if they know I love them. They'll endure my bad decisions, and I make bad decisions sometimes, if they know I love them. They'll stick around through disagreements if they know I love them. They just want to know you care. And I need that. I want to be cared for. I want to be loved. They need that. I love a good sermon, but I think sometimes we need a shoulder to cry on more than we need a sermon.
Yeah, that's really well put.
And they want to know you'll be there at midnight when their loved one dies. They want to know that you'll be there when they get a cancer diagnosis. They want to know that you'll be there when their child rebels. They want to be loved. People want to be loved. And it's taken me so long to learn that they'll listen to me a whole lot closer if they know my heart and know me and that I love them.
Yeah.
So that's something I'm learning. I have learned. I'm learning still to this day. And people want to be loved.
Now, this next question, it may be the same answer, and that's fine. But if you could go back and tell young Josh Tompkins one piece of advice, getting into ministry, what do you say to him?
I would say to love the people, but I would also say to take it slow. I started out young. I started pastoring at 28. So I was like a fireball at the beginning, just, I've taken off. I had all kinds of ideas. I had 1-year plans, 5-year plans, 10-year plans, big goals, big ideas. And I would go back and tell that 28-year-old Josh, I'd say, slow down, enjoy the people, enjoy the time. It's not all going to happen so fast. That ministry is more like, let me say this, it's more like farming and less like fast food. We live in a now culture, but I think God does His greatest work over time.
Right.
And that's what I didn't know then, and that's where a lot of my frustrations came from. I was very frustrated that I didn't go from 50 people to 500 people in 5 years. It takes time for people to grow and to learn. And that I would tell Josh, young Josh, think about generations to come. Think about where your kids and grandkids are going to be. Lay a foundation here, now, that your kids will stand on in the future. I know God can do great things now. We pray for great awakenings now. But those are extraordinary things that throughout history they stand out. But most of the time God works through the slow, methodical, day after day, Sunday after Sunday, the common, ordinary preaching of the Word of God. Just throwing out the seed and trusting God to get the increase. So I would tell Josh, take it slow, man. I would tell Josh at 28, I'm going to tell Josh at 39, take it slow. You know, that's what I need to tell myself that every day. Pray for now. Pray for big, exciting, firework things. But be content when it doesn't happen.
What's your favorite part of ministry?
Preaching. I'm a preacher. I mean, that's what I am. If you could wake me up at 2 a.m. and I could preach you a sermon, I mean and I'm not boasting. That's just who I am and what God's made me. I love the preparation. I love being up in my office and studying 8 hours a day. Love that. I love outlining. I love, application. I love exegeting. I love that. I love the presenting. I love the interaction with the people. I love the faces. I love the interruptions. I love it all. I mean, I love when the light bulb comes on in people's eyes when they get it. I love all of it. I love how God takes somebody like me and He uses me to accomplish a purpose. That I'm just a means to Him reaching people and teaching people. I love how He lets me be involved in it. It's just, I love that. So that's an easy question. I love preaching.
All right, we'll give you a hard one then. What's the hardest part of ministry?
Yeah, that's a tough one. And I'm just gonna be honest with you here. Broken relationships. I didn't expect this. I know the Bible says that all men will hate you for my name's sake, but I don't think I thought that would be true in my case. I like to be liked. I was an athlete. I love it when they say, Josh, he's the man. If he can't do it, nobody can, I want to be cheered for. I don't like being booed. But in ministry, you're not always going to be liked. And that's hard. We deal with people. We deal with broken people. And I'm one of them. And we hurt each other. And people get mad, and people leave, and people say things, and it hurts more than anything I've ever experienced in my life. And it hurts even worse when it's my fault. When I've said something wrong, when I've done something wrong, when I've made a bad decision, when I've not treated somebody like they need to be treated, it hurts. That's by far the hardest part of ministry for me. And it can cause us to isolate ourselves. It has me in the past where I'm not going to put myself out there and be hurt anymore. It's easy to do. But if you're going to be a pastor, you have to continually put your neck out and be willing to get hurt.
Yeah.
Even if we will get hurt. That's what Christ done. And that's what He expects us to do, to put ourselves out there and to love people and to reach people, even if it hurts. So that's by far the hardest part for me.
What do you want your legacy to be?
I've told my wife that I want on my grave to be, he was a faithful man. And that means I want, and I do, I've told her that. It may change. But I want to be, and when people see my tombstone, it'll be, he was faithful to God. He was faithful to his wife. He was faithful to his church. He was faithful to his kids. He was faithful to his friends. And he was faithful to preach the gospel of Jesus Christ every time he got a chance. And to me, that would be the pinnacle. I know I may walk the stage here in a few days, in a few months, and get a degree. That's not the pinnacle. I would love to have a church busting out at the seams. That's not the pinnacle. The pinnacle would be to cross the finish line and to have been faithful. And that's all that I want.
Yeah. And we did this in our last pastor profile episode, so I want to continue this because I thought we got a lot of good feedback about it, and it has really zero to do with anything whatsoever. But just more for fun. We're going to throw 10 questions at you, rapid fire, so quick answers, quick questions. We'll have a good time with this. So, are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right. Favorite candy?
Snickers.
iPhone or Android?
iPhone.
Oddest place you've ever preached?
Probably in an Amish church somewhere in Appomattox.
Favorite restaurant?
What's the name of that barbecue place in Kingsport that has the Indian?
Pratt's.
Pratt's.
Yeah.
There you go.
Okay. Dogs or cats?
Dogs.
Favorite sport?
Football.
Most recent book you've read?
I've read about 20 books on Jonathan Edwards.
Yeah.
And I guess the best one would be Ian Murray's On the Life of Jonathan Edwards.
Okay. Favorite movie?
Back to the Future 2.
That's hilarious. I watched Back to the Future 3 last night. So, favorite or maybe fantasy vacation destination?
England.
Okay. And one person from history, excluding Jesus, you could have a conversation with?
Charles Spurgeon.
All right. Well, there we have it, people. We're going to be right back with a few closing announcements here in just a second, but I want to thank Pastor Josh for being here with us today. Thank you for opening up West End Baptist Church to us so that we can record live from here. So hang tight, and we'll be right back in just a moment. All right, welcome back, everybody, for some closing announcements. Thank you so much for tuning in with us again. And don't forget, check us out on our Facebook page. You can follow us there and like us. Also, make sure that you subscribe to our YouTube channel and on our Apple Podcast. So make sure you check out all the archive messages that we've got there and the podcast interviews. We'd really appreciate that. But a couple quick closing announcements here with Pastor Josh. Don't forget, they're at West End Baptist Church here at 509 Wood Avenue East in Big Stone Gap, Virginia. You can also access their website at westnbsg.org. Again, that's westnbsg.org. And I'm going to turn it over to Pastor Josh right now to talk about some times of service and some upcoming events here at West End.
Okay, we have several options for you if you wanted to come check us out. We have a Sunday school at 10 a.m. I guess that's normal. We have classes for all ages, from the youngest to the oldest. We have our 11 o'clock service on Sunday morning, 6 p.m. service on Sunday evening, and a 6:30 p.m. Wednesday evening Bible study and prayer meeting. The two upcoming events, I always like to bring these up because it's our outreach to the community. We do a community meal every third Thursday of the month. And that's open to anybody in the community that wants to come in from 4 to 6 o'clock. We feed sometimes upwards of 150, 200 people. And then we have a clothes closet where we try to meet some needs of people who are in need of some clothes. We do that every Thursday from 10 to 12. That's the two main events that we have coming up.
Excellent. Now, you guys also run a podcast. I believe it's called Standing in the Gap Still. Is that correct?
That's right.
If people want to access that, explain that to them.
You can go on Sermon Audio and sermonaudio.com, and you can look up Standing in the Gap, or you can even look up West End Baptist Church on Sermon Audio. And you can also find that on our Facebook page and on our website that you just mentioned.
All right, and you guys, how often are y'all putting those out there?
We try to do the sermons weekly, and then we have our standalone just podcast where it's just me talking, if you want to hear that. We try to do that once a month.
All right, excellent. Well, Josh, we appreciate you being on the program today, man. I really, really glad we got together again today. Had a great conversation. So, again, if you're in the area, share this with other people that you may know that might enjoy this, be encouraged by this. So, again, big thanks to Pastor Josh Tompkins here at West End Baptist Church. Thank you guys for listening. We'll be in touch with our next podcast again. So, until next time, have a tremendous week in Jesus.
Play